Can I get an approval on the minutes?
Make the motion.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Pete?
All right, as you see, these are preliminary financials. We won't have real financials for the year end until after the audit, which we'll get to in a minute when the audit's gonna be. One thing I can say though with financials here, that after these were prepared, we did get notification, and Kevin got notification from the Army Corps of Engineers that the $600,000 reimbursement for was it new task.
Yeah, new CNCR 801.
801 has been approved, and so I'm setting up a $600,000 receivable for that. It'll be reflected in financials. That, pretty good thing. Well, hopefully we'll get, they submitted for the partial reimbursement on YMU 40, and we're still waiting to see what they decided on that, but that'll be another 1.2.
Yeah, that sounds it's about right, 1.2, and the partial is probably for about $1 million that was submitted. But that's the first time they've seen the paperwork for that, so they just want to go through and flesh it out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have no timeline for it, unfortunately. We're at the mercy of the federal government. But
At least the 600,000 though, the check that's been approved, and that we're just waiting for them to actually, the check is in the mail, kind of.
Yeah.
So that will help immensely.
Audit engagement letter.
Yeah, the audit engagement letter is in your package that we just received this morning. I've been pestering them for 2 weeks to get that to us so that we would have it in advance of the meeting, but that's the way it is. The audit engagement letter, the cost of the audit is proposed at $21,500 plus the costs of the 990 and the chair 500 and any additional expenses that they incur while they're doing the audit. Last year, the total that we paid to RBT was $27,671, and this is looks like it's about $2,000 more than it was last year.
Everything is going up.
And we're missing in the engagement letter, they did not give us the engagement letters for the 2 tax returns for the 990 and the char 500. They said those are still coming, but those don't get filed until after April. So we'll have opportunity to review that before they come. So what we need is a motion, Chris, right, for Rich to be able to sign the audit engagement letters?
Yes, correct. And, the most important thing about those forms is that you have somebody engaged to do it, so somebody doesn't forget to do it, right? So, yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with RBT for county services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And just as an additional note, the on-site audit will begin on somewhere, they're scheduled for February 12th through the 14th, but they typically are only on-site for 1 day. Other than that, I don't know why they picked 3 days just to give themselves some slack or something, but so it's in 3 weeks.
Sounds good. Reporting and filing dates.
Reporting and filing dates. Okay. So we are up to date on everything with the exception of the O&M reimbursements for 2023 to Westchester County municipalities. This is in the process, and I'm sure Millie can speak to this better about when.
I just got
Yeah.
the numbers today from Kevin.
So Millie and I will
So-
go through and make sure that everything is all
Yeah,
boxes are
it's
checked.
I'm slammed now with other stuff going on, so it's gonna take me a little while to go through them.
And then when we flip
And
over,
then additionally, just on that, the extension is now with the Board of Legislators. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of this is the compliance schedule. Everyone obviously highlighted in the memo has not submitted their board evaluation or the conflict of interest at this point. As far as the financial disclosure goes, we get that from the Putnam County Ethics Board at the beginning of February, that link. So I will send it out to everyone for completion, which is due by May 15th. Any questions?
I just wanted to say, we had sent a letter about an accounting for 2024. I don't believe we've received everything yet, so I don't know how that's reflected in this document.
Talk to me, Vinny.
I could talk to you after for sure.
Yes, please.
I just, everything's up to date and
Everything but the DE page, which is never right. We'll get that.
I would like it to be up.
We all would like it to be up there.
Right.
Okay, so there are no major updates since our board of directors meeting earlier in the month. We are still looking at quite a few projects that will likely go to construction in the spring, finalizing a few installation agreements, and so it's going to be very busy. Very spring, summer, fall. Probably won't sit down in this office, I don't think. Running from site to site, but it's great. Looking forward to getting all these things checked off. One project we had hoped to accomplish in the spring, which will likely be moved for time constraints, is LCR 1001 on Walk Country Club. And talking with the engineer, we just don't feel as though we can squeeze it in. Part of the installation agreement was squeezing in before Memorial Day. At this point, it seems with the timing that it's not worth trying to make sure it gets done. They're postponed until after Labor Day and give us ample time to work through it. I expect to be presenting Kenton B1000 Longfellow Drive in likely in March to the Kent board. It's under review internally there. And as you guys know, that'll be a big one for us to move forward with and stay active over the summer. That's it.
All right. Next up, your leads. Well, Richard has gone out, got 3 proposals for copier leases. Who wants to talk about it or?
I will talk about it a little bit. So the color copier we have has come to the end of service. So what that means is they can no longer get parts, and coincidentally, it's been breaking down pretty often. So I went out and got 3 different quotes. I just want to mention that with Xerox, they could not get their legal department to put the required language in the agreement saying that if we did not receive funding, that we could end the lease. But I spoke to them this morning and they're willing to transfer it. So I don't know if that changes anything, but it is a 60-month lease.
I think, Linda, I think that copier that we had originally, it might have been off the Westchester County contract. I'm not 100% sure if it was, but I know at the time we were talking about that. So if you have prices, I may reach out to get the county price on that thing also.
Okay. Yeah, so in fact, I got another email from him this morning saying that he would bring that price down further if we accepted the terms of having it be transferable.
Transferable, whichever municipality wants it.
Right. So.
Yeah, what's so funny?
Just thinking the same thing, transfer to.
Now I'm really worried. I'm
To
thinking
the
like,
DEP.
Yeah. We could use the copiers, huh?
Well, that seems reasonable, right?
Yeah, so they could bring the price down to $278 a month. It's not a whole lot, but it's something. I mean, AVP is just, their price is really off the charts.
That is your pen.
which we did have previous to this, which we had so many service calls on. We had a lot of issues with that.
Yeah, and some using are great.
So maybe it was just that model.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to make a decision today, it's more to see if anyone else has, anyone they would recommend us getting a quote from, possibly.
Well. Do we wanna reach out to Westchester and see what we could do with Westchester's bids?
Yeah, I mean, Millie may know, but they sign a contract with I forget the company, whether it's Xerox, whichever ones we have at our town hall, I probably should know, but they sign the contract and every other municipality can be on top of it. And I think when I talked to them last time, many years ago, they gave us a price. Whether we bought that one or not, I don't know. But they gave us a price for the copier here.
Can we I mean, your municipalities generally can piggyback on the county contracts, but does Westchester set it up that way?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll have
okay.
to,
You'd
I'll have to
ask
find
them.
out. How long have we had
Okay.
this copier? We haven't had it since 2011, I'm sure.
Probably about 7 years at this point, we're
Oh,
over
yeah.
the lease, probably out a year and a half or so.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll just check. I'll send a note down and ask from their procurement office and get the person. I think it's easy enough for me to do. And I'll send you the data, Linda.
Okay, thank you, Warren.
I don't think that's. We'll see what Warren finds out. I don't think that's gonna fly, because it's a non.
I think you're right. I
but
think we
we'll
did
find out.
try it the last time and
Yeah.
it didn't work out. But
Does the board, I mean, I don't know, Linda, when do you have to make this decision? Does the board want to authorize Rich to proceed if the price you can get from Westchester is not better? I mean, if you can't get a better price from Westchester, let's put it that way.
Do it. What would the problem be with piggybacking on top of Westchester's bid?
It's not a problem for you. So generally speaking, the piggyback rules are that in order for you to piggyback, the contract has to be open to piggybacking. Now what's the price on this? Yeah,
it's,
we just have to get 3 quotes. So for you, if it's the lowest price, it's fine. But generally speaking, the municipalities that do piggybacking, they list and identify who's allowed to piggyback. That's how piggybacking works. So making their contract available to you because you're not a municipality might not be authorized. That's all. And again, this is a pretty small one. From your perspective, it's not over 25,000 or $20,000. So you can just get 3 quotes, and if you get the cheapest quotes, it's fine. But I'm just saying, if you want to proceed, if you can get a cheaper price through Westchester County, then so be it.
So can we approve this contingent on Warren finding out from the county if we can piggyback and?
Right, that's what I was
Yes.
wondering, if you wanted to move forward that way. If you can get a cheaper price from county, then hold off and do that. If you can't, then you could go ahead and do the deal so that you can keep a price that you have.
Yeah, I would authorize the 278, and then it won't take me very long to find out whether that contract's still in effect or not for us.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You know what we just did?
yes, I can.
I'm not so sure.
I know what we did.
O&M.
So we have received everything for 2024 O&M. Anything that was not received by me from a municipality is still eligible to be included for 2025, as already discussed with you all. We got a pretty normal response, I would say, from the towns. The 3 that were expected that we did not receive were from the town of Kent, town of Yorktown, and town of Cortland. So everything that has been brought in already will be audited. We have to have that ready for are we key to have the final numbers by the February 12th date when they're on site. So we'll kick through that as fast as we can, make sure everything is accurate. And yeah, so everything that wasn't addressed can be carried over. Unfortunately, Town of Yorktown and Town of Kent are both very large numbers that I would expect, particularly Kent. If they address everything, should be in the $40,000 range. They have a lot of projects, and for them not to submit is unfortunate. So we'll have to review that whenever it does come in, and as I said, include it in 2025.
But is there a risk that they won't be able to get reimbursed if there's no new funding? Evan?
Well, the only towns that get reimbursed currently are the Westchester County municipalities through Westchester County's agreement with us. So whenever York Kent does submit, it's just going to go into the pot. The risk is that since they didn't submit this past calendar year, that the pot is now going to be larger 2025, and thus everybody's responsibility to pay is going to be a larger number. That's the issue. So whenever a municipality misses something, delays something, it affects everybody across the board. Unfortunately.
Other business. 5-year plan.
Fire plan's been submitted to the DEC.
You were gonna send it out to municipalities?
I'm sorry, you're right. I do owe that to everybody. I
I think
apologize.
New York City may be looking for it as well.
New York City has received.
Westchester County would like a copy too.
Okay.
So did you say has received?
Plus.
You sent that to me?
Plus.
Oh, I didn't receive it.
Okay.
It must be getting blocked in our filters.
Sure. We'll check on it again, yeah.
And you maybe set up like a OneDrive folder or
Yeah.
something, might be a better way to do it. Sometimes large attachments get cut off, and unfortunately, the city system did not let me know.
Okay.
What happens.
Print on a new hard copy with a new printer.
Yeah.
Did they carry it?
I didn't print it out. I don't want to waste all my paper.
I think our limit is like 10.
I'm well above that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I'll set up a OneDrive and I'll make sure our municipalities get it. Counties
Thank you.
and DP.
In the future, if you send me something and I send another email that says, can you send that to me, maybe you want to respond and say, I did. Like, without the attachment.
Yeah, I had to do without the attachment. That was a mistake.
So everybody is in the loop on what's going on. I did talk to Neil Toman this morning about the potential additional funding from Putnam County. It's still under review. They've made no decision about whether and if they will provide any additional funding, so. In that vein, I think maybe we need to take a look at Plan B, and that would be if we're gonna keep going. The organization's gonna need to be funded in municipalities. So what I'm thinking is that we figure out what we're gonna need for budget. An annual budget, which we pretty much have, and we use the same formula unless somebody's got a better way to do it on allocation of costs. Sure, the Westchester funding, which they're likely to get, cover the Westchester communities. It just leaves the Putnam that's gonna have to start ponying up, and maybe. Well, Dutchess has been along for a ride for a while, so. I don't know where that's gonna leave us with Dutchess.
So didn't we contribute?
Well, this would be the administration costs moving forward,
Okay,
when we get into years 11.
okay.
Rich, did your calculation formula have a Duchess component? I would think it would have, right?
I think it did,
I
yes.
thought it
Yeah.
did.
I would
Yeah.
think so.
Set up with David Kelly,
Yeah,
so then we would need to speak to Lori Taylor.
yeah. So this is probably not gonna happen till 2026 anyway. But I think it would be good for everybody to understand what the ramifications would be, especially, when we're doing our budgets.
Right. Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
we would need
But
to start
Rich,
by June or July.
I wonder if it wouldn't be a good idea to do get a budget number that you feel comfortable using and apply the formula and show everybody what that number looks like.
That's what I'm
Um,
suggesting. Yeah,
but now, because
Yes.
I think people need to understand what happens if Putnam is at the legislative level is unable to provide the support. I think the towns need to understand what that means.
I agree. Yes. So,
And then I think too, for Duchess, we would need to understand if, because we're in the bubble compliance.
right,
So what would it mean to the two towns if they don't continue and have to do this on their own? So I need to come up with some of those numbers too for them.
I don't know, we can come up with those numbers, because
Okay.
at that point, you would be taking whatever stormwater retrofit projects you have. For years 11 through 15, figuring out what those costs would be, and I don't know what we have, I haven't seen the report yet that we've got from Dutchess County.
Yeah, it's minimal.
Right,
Yeah,
it's just like Duchess, I believe.
Late, that's for this year's.
Okay,
this
so we
year,
don't
yeah.
have anything.
So in terms of new projects, there might be one or two. I did my best to make sure that every town is represented in the list, but I don't recall exactly.
Do you have to find projects if you had to go on your own? Like, how
Mhm.
would that work? You
Yeah.
find other projects?
You have to
Yeah.
find them
Yeah,
and fund
in
them.
in
Fund
that
them,
situation, we would not pursue anything within those municipalities. The towns would be on their own for engineering, construction,
Right.
and plans.
And then. Like, I believe the village is 4.3 reduction in phosphorus and we're 3.5.
Mhm.
So then you would also have to meet that for your 5-year period.
Additionally, just so you know, I believe the county's policy will be that the money that they give will be on a reimbursement basis only.
That's a problem. We were not
Yeah,
aware
that's
of
a big
that.
Yeah.
That's,
one policy.
well, I think that's a really big problem. Because we don't have any way to borrow money.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. So it's not my decision to make, but that is the policy that it's a reimbursement, so.
Well, honestly, you guys, the only way that's gonna work is all the Westchester County towns are gonna have to put up money ahead of time in advance for the counties and get reimbursed by the counties. Because I don't see how this is gonna work otherwise. EOH only has so much money and they don't have a way to borrow money. And they're already having to, potentially advance or, cover funds that DEP is unwilling to pay for. So, this is a reality check.
I would agree that that's really problematic and maybe we need to have some larger conversations about that, Millie.
Yeah.
Who makes that decision?
I mean, I think ultimately it's gonna be the county executive.
Okay,
When we were doing the Peach Lake Sewer District and the county was funding a lot of that through WQIP, I gave them the bill on a Thursday and I got the check from them on a Tuesday, the following Tuesday. So, they can react pretty fast. I don't know what the concern is on something like that, but
Well, the concern is that you can't sign contracts, including you can't hire staff if you don't have any money, right? You can't look for, you gotta have working capital, you gotta have money, so you're gonna have.
But on a contract, where we're going out and we're doing, some stormwater stabilization stuff someplace, it's gonna cost us $800,000. We don't end up paying the company until we actually get the bill.
Right, but that's DEP money. I'm talking about running the operation and paying the admin costs and paying the internal costs that DEP will not pay.
Could we
That's
allocate
what you
those?
are counting on these contributions to use for, right?
Yeah, the towns can't support that directly.
Well, it's going to be left to the towns if the counties are unable to support it, in both cases, in both counties.
Well, and if we're going to have difficulty getting money from these sources, then we may change the purpose of the, add to the responsibilities of the corporation to meet with our MS4 needs. I think that is the only way that my town would be willing to consider payment, is that if other aspects of the town's stormwater program can be incorporated into the responsibilities of this corporation, because right now it's solely focused on the retrofit program, which is why we're continually contributing to it.
And that's gonna be a much larger conversation about what those costs are gonna be, and,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct. And, and I think that the only, this is a big issue that we need to resolve.
Yeah,
Can I just ask, how would the reimbursement with the county, if it's for really just operations and admin, like, would we have to assign it to each project and then submit reimbursement? Like, or, I mean, it's like rent and benefits and paying staff, like, when would we submit for reimbursement? Like, what's the timing on that?
It would probably be quarterly, I think that's. I mean, maybe there's a situation where we could give in advance of a few $100,000, so that you have that working forward, and then it would be a quarterly.
Quarterly advancement. I mean,
What, quarterly's not gonna work. But look, we have to talk to some folks down at the county.
yeah.
But when I had this issue with the Peach Line, I didn't have enough money. It was 23 million. There was no way. And I had a problem getting checks, and I finally sat down with them. And as I said, it took them 4 or 5 days to get me the check. So they'll work with us on some of this stuff. It may be not normal, but we have to probably figure out what all our issues are, and then just go down and sit down with Ken or one of the other departments. I'm not sure if it's Blanca. I'm not sure if it's planning.
Right, so it would probably be best if you started by sending me a letter as to why you would need the money in advance. And then once I have that argument in place, then I can start to move it forward for you. But you should get it in writing first.
How much money do we have right now that can be used for salaries and such? Keith, do you know off the top of your head?
Second,
So salaries, rent, those types of things that aren't covered.
we have, 7:30.
About, doesn't have to
If
be
you
down
figure
to,
out, if you figure that, we have about $600,000 that's uncommitted, in quip funds. Now, we're gonna get 600,000 from the Army Corps, that's basically reimbursing us, but that's, money I'm sure Kevin is hoping to use for doing other projects.
but can that 600,000 from the Army Corps, is that fungible? Can it be used for anything?
It's a reimbursement for expenses that we've already incurred.
Including staff and.
I understand, but if we've incurred them and it was incurred for, well, okay.
Yeah.
So best case is 1.2 million, which would run us maybe 9,000.
All
Our
right, so let me
payroll,
ask-
our payroll's around 8,500, 9,000 every 2 weeks, is it? A little bit less now with Corey not there, I think, right?
Let me ask Millie, when you say the funding is gonna be reimbursable, is that the new funding that's being requested, or is that both the new funding and the request to roll over whatever we have left?
The new funding. I don't think the request to roll over, I mean, no, because the request to roll over whatever is left, if not. Is that currently in your
It's
coffers?
currently in our coffers.
Right.
but it's
That's what
subject
we're
to that
using.
reimbursement.
So out of that, I don't think we can make a
Okay.
case that that would not be subject to the.
So you're not gonna
reimbursement.
add something in,
I don't think,
all right,
I think we can make the case that we're not gonna do that because we gave you the money before, we're not gonna renege on that,
okay.
but.
Millie, is there a reason why it's changing? Do you know?
I don't know if there's a set reason, but the people I've spoken to have told me. That it would only be on a reimbursement basis, so that's why I'm bringing it up. So that you guys can put in writing the reason, and I know you did that for the DEP, so it should be pretty easy for you to come up with the language. To put in writing why you feel strongly that it can't be on a reimbursement basis and what the ramifications would be. And what it would require of the Westchester County municipalities, because that's what's gonna move the needle the most, is how it's gonna be a hardship for the municipalities within the county.
I mean,
Well-
Warren, I don't see how you can operate without a year's annual budget funded in advance. I just don't see how you can operate with staff, you know.
Well, staff's
No.
a different thing, right? I
Well,
mean, the salaries, the rent, all those types of things. I don't know the exact number, but it's probably 400,000 or 500,000 a year, something like that, right?
I mean,
but
so-
also you were planning on using that money to fund projects in advance of DEP reimbursing you. So now you don't have a way to do that. So we're talking about actual hard costs for projects that you were anticipating using these funds to front and getting repaid and, going around and around with that as you were expecting to do with quarterly reimbursements. So now
I'm not suggesting quarterly reimbursements are gonna work. They're
no,
not
no, no,
gonna
no,
work.
no. When I talk about quarterly reimbursements, I'm sorry, I mean the DEP's reimbursements, right? They're gonna pay, or I'm sorry, have I forgotten this? Is it semi-annual? Vince, what are we doing? I can't remember now.
Yeah, well,
It's
semi-annual.
semi-annual. I didn't think you were using water quality funds to front. We thought the initial payment was sort of the front.
Well, I hope it is, but
And then I think the water quality money was there if you started to design a project and for whatever reason it doesn't go forward to construction and then it's not a capital asset, then that cannot be funded with our money.
correct. So we have to have a backstop for that. That's right.
So I think we probably need to sit down with the DEP, the DEC, and maybe even Westchester County. Millie, who was the person you talked to, who was the person at Westchester that mentioned it was probably not gonna work?
I mean, I've spoken to 3 people about it, I don't really wanna throw anyone under the bus or have you. Pester them directly, I really prefer to get that letter first and move forward with it that way.
So, Chris, you wanna draft the letter, you wanna draft some bullet points, and I'll draft the letter, what do you wanna do?
I can work on a letter, but I'd really like some financial information from Kevin and Keith.
Of course.
Yeah, no problem.
It's hard to put it in perspective without that.
I would assume like all of Kevin's time is allocated to projects, like is that being reimbursed, like,
It's not actually all.
No.
allocated projects.
not, okay,
No.
Well, it's a good portion, yes, but it's not all.
okay, so it's not the full, like, it's not the whole payroll and the whole, some of it is allocated to projects, so we need to figure out what that number is.
60%.
Fair.
Okay.
I have an additional question for you guys. The 2 million that you're getting, that you're hoping to receive from the county. How long is that gonna last, the organization? Like,
Well, that's what we need to figure out.
Not long.
It depends how many projects we're running.
Maybe 3 years.
Right,
maybe 3 years,
Maybe,
maybe less.
maybe, it's probably 2.5 years, I'm thinking. But again, we've got a couple of problems here, we've got a program, we've got a fund. We've got to figure out where more funding is coming from. If it's not coming from the state, if it's not coming from the federal government, if it's not coming from, the counties, or DEP, then, it's all gonna be pushed back on us and that begs the question, what are we gonna do? But, you know, I mean, I heard the last time we tried to negotiate anything very clearly from David Warren. That don't ask us for more money when you got all this money sitting in the coffers for Westchester and Putnam.
Mhm.
Well, and that's what I was gonna ask. I mean, isn't this why the county's got this money to do this kind of work? So when the two, I mean, the 2 million isn't the end of it in Westchester, right? There's still more funding for the water quality improvement
I mean, it
program in
depends
Westchester.
on, you know, how quickly.
Individual
Lewisboro
projects.
does their project, what's happening in North Salem, if Yorktown ever decides to move forward with their project, I mean, the money could be gone like that too.
Yeah, but we are holding for future. Do you know what I'm saying? And we really need to examine what we need now.
Right, I'm saying the Lewisboro and the North Salem projects are moving forward.
Okay, but there's other projects, there's other monies. This is one of those projects.
Yeah. I mean, I can't promise how much money will be there.
And I can't fault DEP's position. I mean, the money was given to the communities in 1997
Right,
to fix the water quality problems.
right.
And we will get no more money unless that money is spent.
Absolutely.
And you know, there's money that
So should we up our-
Lewisboro's requested for sewers. There's money that I've requested for sewers, so it's not just sitting there.
I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, write it down. Make a note of that.
I mean, I think we need to figure out what percentage of our, like, the overhead costs are not covered by projects. And then calculate the projections for 5 years of that number, and that's how much we should be asking the county for now. So if it's 2 million, that's not gonna cover it, and we should be asking for more and making the case with those projections. Here's how much it's gonna cost. And will be built, you know, a lot of it will be in the DEP reimbursement,
Right.
because it's part of just getting these projects done, but what's not covered, we need to make the case, we need that.
And then honestly, the 2 million with the 2 million ask was just a reasonable number that we thought we could move through quickly because we are fast running out of time where we've got to finish up years, you know, 1 through 15, which should be soon. Considering we're years past when it should have been done. And moving into years 11, and when we get into years 11, then how this organization is funded is gonna change radically. I mean, you know, New York City funding now is strictly for capital improvements that actually are completed. If they're not completed, then that funding can't be used.
Well, that was always the case. I think it just changed, you know, that we don't get these enormous lump sum payments up front.
Right.
It's really the difference. But it's always been capital.
It's always been capital, but it was never an issue about if we didn't finish a project that I'm aware of.
No, that was always true as well. If you look at the term funding agreement, it has to be capital eligible. As far as the city is concerned.
Yes,
Or else you then have to charge to water quality funds or some
right,
other.
yes, understood that.
So can I ask, and Keith, can you put that together to see what the costs are that aren't allocated to projects for this organization, like month to month? And what the projection might be for years 11 to 15?
Most of the costs are not allocated to projects. It's just a small amount of salary and benefits for each project. And now, as you pointed out, that's really just Kevin's, you know, time. I mean, Linda does a little
Does
bit.
it cover anything that anyone else does?
Right, but Keith, I think the point is we need numbers on a page now so that we can have this conversation with just Westchester County and with the Putnam municipalities. I mean, we have to
Well,
have
also,
projections.
Those same numbers for what I was referring to is before, putting them in, you know, allocating all those costs to each individual municipality to see what everybody is going to be paying.
Right.
They
Right,
all know
exactly. Exactly.
Moving forward, if we don't have any funding.
Yeah, and the county will be interested in knowing that. Yep.
I'll put something together for you.
Great, thank you. We need that.
Anyone else? We've all got our homework.
And we would include the new hire that we're planning for in September in those
Yeah.
numbers, yeah, the operation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could pay somebody.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's go. Archie.
Yeah.